COVID. Rona. Facts. Facts.
Emergency Medicine Remix.
Whether you live or die, might rely. Whether you describe to the truth or not. But the proof we got ain't no lie. The booster shot be the last chance of the things we got.
Welcome to Emergency Medicine Remix. Hashtag VaxFacts. Today we want to address the elephant in the room, the COVID vaccination that is on the horizon. We want to legitimize your fears, your concerns, and yet not hinder you from the benefits of the science that is actually being proposed. At this time, we like to just take a quick break to tell you what's down the pipe as far as us talking to you more about the importance of vaccination, especially in light of this pandemic. Chidi, shine some light on them.
Yeah, of course. With this COVID-19 as a whole is just ghetto. So I feel that COVID is ghetto. So your fears about this vaccination are legitimate. I'm afraid of this vaccination. COVID-19 is acting like something we've never seen before. Who does it affect? Why? How long? Are people getting reinfected? So here's this new disease that we really don't know much about. And then now we're having this vaccine come out, which again, people are like, oh, how are you going to come up with vaccines so fast? A lot of times, historically, vaccines have taken years to kind of perfect and vet and make sure that they're safe. And now in less than a year, we're coming out with a vaccine. So your fear is legitimate, but fear honestly comes from the unknown. It comes from ignorance. And here, your friendly emergency medicine doctors are trying to dispel a little bit of that ignorance and a little bit of that lack of knowledge to allow us to feel less fearful about getting this vaccine. But I'm definitely afraid. I'm definitely nervous, but I don't let that fear overcome me. I look for the facts. I look for the science. I look for the education behind why it is or what it is that I'm going to be taking. And that kind of informs my decisions. But I'm definitely afraid of this vaccine, but I don't let that kind of steer me into deciding whether or not I'm going to take it. I inform myself and then I'm able to do something that's a little bit more conscientious. But your fears are legitimate. Your fear of the unknown is legitimate. The fear of COVID vaccine is rampant. The fear of COVID is rampant. So this is not something that we are not, we're not surprised that people are fearful of it. But we're hopefully, as we come out with these series, we can help to dispel some of that fear. I'm going to throw it back to John. Can you give us a little bit of break down the history of vaccines? Make sure the people know, what it is that we're trying to push here.
Okay, as an OG, I like to talk about the history. To dispel the ignorance, you have to have knowledge, and knowledge of self is one of the most powerful things you can have. So when we talk about vaccines, we're going to use the word inoculations. They actually hail from ancient Africa as well as India. Long before we set foot on these shores as slaves, we actually had pioneered inoculations and vaccinations for diseases like cowpox. And we, once arriving to these Western shores, taught physicians like the father of modern vaccinations, Dr. Jenner, and the like founding fathers, Cotton Mather, that if you took a small amount of the pus from an infected person or infected animal, for cowpox, in the case in the United States, smallpox, you can actually prevent a more severe version of the disease. This was the birth of inoculation. This came from us. So if there's a conspiracy, it's only that we weren't taught our part of this history of saving many, many lives. Not the fact that it was dangerous or deadly, but that we all have a part in this life-saving measure. So that being said and done, I'm going to kick it to my brother K Ford to talk about some of the misinformation you received over the years, preventing you from achieving your best life. Chris?
Oh man, misinformation. 2020 is certainly the year of misinformation, right?
Yeah.
So the reason why we even have to have this talk is because we know there is a large anti-vaccine movement in this country, and that's concerning for us as physicians and scientists and parents, because we know that vaccines have played a large and important role in eradicating infectious diseases worldwide and preventing serious illness and death. But it seems like people are fearful of vaccines primarily because they think that it's going to cause autism. And I understand, I'm a parent. I do not want my child to get autism. However, I do want to say that vaccines do not cause autism. Where did this come from? In the late 1990s, in the early 2000s, there was a Dr. Andrew Wakefield in Europe who came out with two papers that falsely claimed that vaccines caused autism. After being investigated, not only was he found to have unethical financial ties to making a false claim, the studies were largely fraudulent and very poorly done. And its studies and its findings and conclusions were thrown out by the journal and the medical community. However, the damage was done. Since then, there's been multiple studies that have looked at vaccines, its safety, and autism. And there have been no studies that have been able to prove that vaccines cause autism. Thimerosal, an ingredient in some vaccines, does not cause autism. And in fact, thimerosal has long been removed from the vast majority of all childhood recommended vaccines, except for a few multi-dose influenza vaccines. So, vaccines do not cause autism. I understand the fear of parents being fearful of their children getting autism. However, vaccines should not play a part in that fear.
Brother Jawad, tell us about the magnitude as far as the benefits globally vaccines have provided, if there are any.
So, one simple statement I can say is vaccines do save lives. We have a huge movement right now in the Western world in terms of being anti-vaccines. And the things I think we as scientists need to understand that there is a spectrum, right? There's people who are straight up anti-vax. There's some parents who are just concerned because they just don't understand the risks and benefits involved. But we know that the risks of providing a vaccine is very low compared to the benefits, right? Just one simple shot will give a child or an adult a lifetime of benefits. And so we've seen throughout history, we've seen smallpox being eradicated because of vaccines. Polio is extremely low in majority of the world, except for Pakistan and Afghanistan, which have their own issues in terms of propagating the vaccine. Even in terms of measles was very well controlled until recently, where even in the media, we talk about causation and correlation, but we see that there's increased rise of cases and deaths, like increased in 50% of deaths because there's less vaccination against measles. I think the real power is in the absence of disease. And this power not only prolongs people's lives, it improves societies, improves economies. And I think it can definitely benefit people. It has more benefit than it has any harm.
Thank you. All right, guys. One line prescription before we unload this episode in our series on hashtag #VaxFacts. So, Chidi, one liner.
Your fear is legitimate, but don't let your fear control your decisions.
Knowledge of self is powerful. Know who you are and know who you can become to live your better life.
Vaccines are safe. Vaccines do not cause autism.
I'm going to say vaccines are safe. What should I say? Like, oh man, Chris. I was like,
sorry, man.
That's all good. Should I just say, the real power is the absence of disease, and vaccines do that.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Hold on. Facts.
Emergency medicine remix.
Whether you live or die, might rely. Whether you describe the truth or not. But the proof we got ain't no lie. The booster shot be the last chance of the